News. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Biakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari commends Nigerians in US for excelling in their fields. INEC reassures Nigerians that the tax will not stop elections. Plus, new EU sanctions target Russian military-industrial complex. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed great pleasure in the conduct of Nigerians who have continued to excel in their chosen fields as they reside in the United States of America. The president gave this commendation at the presidential town hall meeting with Nigerians in the diaspora, which took place in Washington yesterday, as he rounded off his participation at the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. According to a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, his principal assured that the federal government will continue to support them, as evidenced by the approvals he recently gave for the evacuation of Nigerians stranded in Libya, South Africa, Ukraine, UAE, and President Buhari to be good ambassador host. From the financial sector, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has countered claims that its new policy limiting cash withdrawals is targeted at point-of-sales POS agents in particular. Though the Apex Bank on December 6 set the weekly withdrawal limit at 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira for persons and organizations, respectively, it made allowances for compelling cases to withdraw up to 5 million naira or 10 million naira. The CBN's Director of Banking Supervision, Mustafa Haruna, said during a live TV appearance that not in any way are they POS agents endangered. Haruna cited the December 6 circular of the Apex Bank, which stated that in compelling circumstances, should an individual or organization need an amount above the set limit, there are conditions to fulfill. The CBN had stated that in such instances, not exceeding once a month, withdrawals above the limit shall be subject to processing fees of 5% and 10% for individuals and corporate entities, respectively, in addition to enhanced due diligence and further information requirements. Applicants are also required to upload the following on the CBN's portal, which include valid means of identification of the payee, national ID, international passport, driver's license, bank verification number BVN of the payee, and notarized customer declaration of the purpose for the cash withdrawal, senior management approval for the withdrawal by the managing director of the drawee where applicable, and approval in writing by the MD and CEO of the bank authorizing the withdrawal. Away from that, the federal government yesterday explained why it did not evacuate all Nigerians from India who had been in custody of the Indian authorities. According to a statement by the spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Francisca Omayuli, those left behind did not meet evacuation requirements set by the foreigner regional registration offices. Omayuli said they had no record of entry into India or entered with another passport other than Nigerian passport. The federal government had on Friday, 16th December 2022, evacuated a total number of 191 Nigerians from India on a special flight. The number comprised 152 males, 43 females, and an infant. The evacuees, according to information, were Nigerians who had been in the custody of the Indian authorities awaiting deportation for reasons such as overstay and completion of various prison terms. The ministry, however, assured them that a proper arrangement would be made for their evacuation. On electoral matters, the Northern Elders Forum (NAF) has raised the alarm over some politicians allegedly taking advantage of vulnerable persons in the north, especially women, to buy their permanent voter cards (PVCs). The NAF's Director of Publicity and Advocacy, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, made a live appearance during a televised interview where he gave more insight into the forum's recent findings on the alleged proliferation of vote suppression in the region. Baba Ahmed, however, stated that the investigation by the forum did not indict anyone in particular. The NAF spokesman denounced the selling of PVCs for a pittance, saying the nation is in need of leadership that can rescue its citizens from the economic and security circumstances. A separate development, federal government has declared December 26 and 27, 2022 as public holidays to mark Christmas and Boxing Day. Also, Monday, January 2, 2023 has been declared a holiday to mark New Year's Day celebration. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Arabeshola, made the announcement in a statement by the ministry's permanent secretary, Dr. Shuaib Belgore. Arabeshola urged Christians and Nigerians to make the best use of the festive period to pray for the total eradication of insecurity bedeviling the country. The minister enjoined Christians to emulate the doctrines of Christ in faith, hope, and love. In a separate development, Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC) at its meeting shared a total sum of 902.053 billion naira to the three tiers of government as Federation allocation for the month of November 2022. From the stated amount, inclusive of gross statutory revenue, value-added tax (VAT), exchange gain and electronic money transfer levies (EMTL), the federal government received 358.515 billion. The states received 270.836 billion, and the local government councils got 204.130 billion naira, while the oil-producing states received 68.572 billion as derivation and 13% of mineral revenue. The communique issued by the Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC) at the end of the meeting indicated that the gross revenue available from the value-added tax (VAT) for November 2022 was 202.839 billion. The distribution saw the federal government taking 30.426 billion, the states 101.420 billion, while the local government councils got 70.994 billion naira. In a separate development, the federal government has directed airlines to allow Nigerians returning home with expired passports to board their aircraft without any hindrance. A directive from the Controller General of Nigeria Immigration Service noted that the federal government of Nigeria has approved that Nigerians returning home can be admitted into the country with their expired Nigerian passports. The directive also urged all Nigerian diplomatic missions abroad to circulate the information to airlines, operators, and border authorities of host countries. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock will hand back 20 stolen Benin bronzes when she travels to Nigeria as part of Berlin's efforts to reckon with its colonial past. Recall that Germany signed an agreement in July to gradually begin returning hundreds of looted Benin bronzes from German museums. According to the Foreign Ministry spokesman Christopher Berger, that this batch of Benin bronzes can be returned before the end of the year shows how serious Germany is about facing up to its colonial past. On to the legislature now, where the House of Representatives has demanded the relocation of a Federal Medical Center (FMC) from Daura, the hometown of the President Muhammadu Buhari, to Funtua in Katsina State. The Federal Parliament particularly urged the Federal Ministry of Health to reconsider the process of converting Daura General Hospital to Federal Medical Center in the public interest. while also urging the ministry to facilitate the relocation of the FMC to Funtua, being the only senatorial district without a federal health tertiary institution with immediate effect. A member of the House from Katsina State, Babangida Ibrahim, made the demand in a motion at a plenary which the lawmakers unanimously adopted. To judicial matters now, where Justice Kayode Ogunloye of the Federal High Court, Lugbe, within the week summoned the heads of the old and new Kefi Correctional Centers, Simon Kaigama and Alao Moses, to account for the whereabouts of a suspect, Suleiman Mohammed, who was allegedly involved in the murder and robbery of Gabriel Aduku. Reports say the suspect was charged before the court for being in possession of the vehicle belonging to Aduku after he was killed. He was also fingered by the family of the deceased as the main organizer of the robbery and murder. Justice Ogunloye ordered that the record officer at the Kefi Correctional Center and the prison warden brought the suspect to court on the last day before he disappeared. Abdullahi Yunusa is also to appear before him to account for his whereabouts. Minister of State for Science, Technology and Innovation Henry Iko has said that the adoption and commercialization of modern agricultural practices like the genome editing technology being championed by the African Union will ensure food security, job creation and help to end the mass emigration of young people. Speaking in Lagos at the official opening of the African Union Development Agency and National Biotechnology Development Agency Genome Editing Communication and Policy Dialogue, Iko stressed the need for Africa to embrace new innovations in agriculture. The ceremony, attended by representatives from Zambia, Ghana, Ethiopia, Burkina Faso and Eswatini, was a sequel to a 3-day workshop to develop a national communication strategy and action plan for the continental deployment of genome editing. In the meantime, Nigeria's Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed has disclosed that 5,000 companies and individuals are indebted to the federal government to the tune of 5.2 trillion naira. She disclosed this during a 2-day sensitization workshop in Minna, Niger State. The minister, represented by the Director of Special Projects at the Ministry, Victor Omata, stated that the debts cut across 19 ministries, departments and agencies. She added that efforts aimed at recovering the aggregated debts are still ongoing. Away from that, the Chief of Army Staff, CARS, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, within the week in Kaduna, charged the personnel cadets of Direct Short Service Course 26 Army and Direct Regular Course 30 Nigerian Air Force to serve the nation with honor and valor in the course of their military career. Director Army Public Relations Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, in a statement within the week, said the CARS gave the charge while addressing the cadets who are scheduled to graduate from, while charging them to deploy their intellectual ability and sense of patriotism in their various duty. CARS Yahaya enjoined them to ensure that the professional tenets and core values imbibed in the academy impact positively on their operational tasks and other assigned duties. Yahaya further urged the officer cadets to shun all forms of social vices that could derail or impede their avowed service to their fatherland. On promotion within the ranks and file of the Nigerian military, the Nigerian Army Council has approved the promotion of 122 senior officers from the ranks of Brigadier General to Major General and Colonel to Brigadier General respectively. The Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, in a statement within the week, said 52 of those promoted are Brigadier Generals and 70 Colonels. According to him, the Brigadier Generals were elevated to Major Generals and the Colonels to Brigadier Generals. He said their promotion was in recognition of their meritorious service to the nation. Meanwhile, Chief of Defense Staff General Loki Rabo behind a secret abortion program in the Northeast. Irabo stated this when he led some senior military officers to the headquarters of the National Human Rights Commission in Abuja. He said the report does not represent the professional standing of the armed forces of Nigeria. The defense chief stated that the military, being guided by law, submitted itself to the National Human Rights Commission as the appropriate establishment to undertake investigations of the alleged violations. To Osun State now, where the state government has directed the management of the State Polytechnic EE to reverse the fee payable by students. The school authority had increased its fees for the 2022-2023 academic session from 67,850 to 112,850 for science students and 57,300 to 97,300 for others. However, in a memo to the school management by the permanent secretary, fee regime. We move to politics now, where the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has promised to ensure that the Onitsha port will become operational and as well as resuscitate industries in the southeast in order to boost the nation's economy. Atiku said this while addressing party supporters during his campaign rally in Awka, the Anambra state capital. He explained that they were part of requests made by the Anambra state governor, Chukwuma Soludo, when he met him hours before the commencement of the campaign. Speaking in a similar vein, the national chairman of the PDP, Iyorchia Ayu, recalled the role played by the late Alex Ekweme in the formation of the PDP. He said Ekweme, who led the PDP for 34 years, noting that Anambra is PDP.
We are going to dredge River Niger and make sure Onitsha port is functional. We are also going to make sure that we support Anambra State to industrialize the state so that the state can create as many jobs for our young men and women. And besides, you know, I promised to set aside 10 billion US dollars to promote small and medium scale enterprises for our young men and women so that they can be independent.
Still on electoral matters, the resident electoral commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Osun State, Mutiu Aboke, has assured Nigerians that the 2023 general elections will be conducted despite attacks on its facilities. He also disclosed that security is beefed up at the Commission's offices across the state to ensure both sensitive and non-sensitive materials are secure. He made this known during a sensitization rally organized by the Commission in collaboration with the non-governmental organization Power of PVCs for residents of Oshobo ahead of the 2023 polls. The RAG said the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS and the results viewing portal IREF for voter accreditation and uploading of polling units results in real time had come to stay. Aboke warned Nigerians against vote trading, noting that a penalty awaits offenders. Mixed reactions have continued to greet the disbursement of the new Naira notes that officially came into circulation within the week, with many bank customers. Newly redesigned 1,000, 500 and 200 Naira bills finally became a legal tender on December 15, 2022, over 3 weeks after the President Muhammadu Buhari unveiled them at the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. Reports say several bank branches in several cities across the country, especially Lagos and Abuja, had run out of the small quantities of the new note allocated to them from their head offices as early as 12 noon, while several bank branches were yet to get their new note allocations, with many bank officials informing that the new notes were still being expected as at time of report. Back here, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly has passed the 2023 appropriation bill of the state, which amounted to 700 billion naira, into law. The 700 billion is made up of 344.05 billion for recurrent expenditure and 355.995 billion for capital expenditure. The proposed bill, which amounted to 0.4% of the initial proposed budget size, followed the report of the Uduak-Odudo-led House Committee on Finance and Appropriation. Recall that Governor Udom during the House sitting on Monday, November 7, 2022, presented his budget address for consideration, adding that by virtue of Order 8, Rule 1, Subsection 3 of the Standing Order of the House, the Appropriation Bill 2023 was deemed read for the first time. Reports say after a fruitful clause-by-clause deliberation at the Committee of the Whole and Supply, members unanimously accepted the report and the appropriation bill was subsequently passed into law. The Speaker, Anyekan Bassi, who presided over the plenary, directed the Clerk of the House, Mandu Morin, to communicate the position of the House to the Executive Governor for assent. From the seat of power, Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom has announced the institution of an annual award for excellence in gospel ministry in the state. The governor announced this during this year's Christmas Carol Festival organized by the state government. Governor Emmanuel said the award was designed to reward gospel ministers to do more to win more souls to God through gospel ministration. Governor Emmanuel noted that the state has every reason to be thankful to God and sing praises to him for all he has done for the state. Government House correspondent Jane Owa reports that different gospel groups from within and outside the country ministered during the Carol Festival, adding that the governor of Delta State and PDP vice presidential candidate Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, governors of Edo and Osun State, as well as the Oni of Ife and other traditional and religious leaders attended the event. Meanwhile, Akwa Ibom State government has donated another set of 20 Hilux patrol vehicles and other security gadgets to the State Police Command. Governor Udom Emmanuel made the presentation on behalf of the state government to the State Commissioner of Police Olatoye Durosimi at Government House Uyo. Presenting the security gadgets to the State Police Command, Governor Udom Emmanuel said the security gadgets would help in effective security patrols of all parts of the state, especially this festive season. Governor Emmanuel commended other security agencies for their collaboration with the police to sustain the relative peace being enjoyed in the state. In a speech, the Commissioner of Police, Akwa Ibom State Command Olatoye Durosimi, thanked the state government for its continued support to the command. Government House correspondent Jane Owa reports that other items donated by the state government to the police included laptops, mobile handsets with dedicated lines, telephones and other solar-powered communication gadgets, adding that the presentation of the 20 patrol vehicles brings to 65 the total number of operational vehicles donated to the police in the state by the present administration. In a separate development, on Friday, the management of TAF Media Group, owners of Planet FM, Spectrum TV and Tangsio FM, urged staff members to give in their best to ensure maximum productivity in the coming year. This formed part of the discourse at the end-of-year meeting organized by the chairman of the group, Tony Afia, to appreciate staff for their individual and collective efforts put in to make the organization successful, while also setting the tone for 2023. Our correspondent completes this report.
End-of-year get-together and meetings are usually avenues set aside by organizations to assess the year's progress and set agenda for the next year. In this vein, TAF Media Group, owners of Planet 101.1 FM, Tangsio 102.7 FM, and Spectrum Television, gathered its staff members to celebrate an amazing year and urged its members to ensure maximum productivity in the coming year. Speaking at the get-together, the General Manager, TAF Media Group, Sunday Edet, thanks the staffers for doing their best to ensure the organization remain trailblazers in the industry with 3 media outlets despite the challenges in the year.
But I want to thank you all, those of you who have been at your beats, doing your very best to ensure that there's a continued growth that we desire, that the company continues to be at the point where it is meant to be. This place is meant to be at the top. And I trust that if we open our minds, work together in love and peace and in harmony, we will be there where God wants us to be.
Departmental heads, who were also grateful for a successful year, charged all members of staff to continue doing the right things for the good of the company.
I want to encourage each and every one of us to ensure that you try to do marketing, promote your programs, promote other people's programs, find ways where we can make money.
2022, thank God this is the last month. It's facing out. We faced our challenges and thank God we are here. And we are still growing. I just want to encourage us that if we close from work, every day you close from work, just help us. Because we cannot be everywhere, just help us. Just put off that socket and unplug. Because one of the major challenges we faced here this year is just a thunder strike. And we are doing everything possible to address that issue. And God will help us.
Wherever you are, if you know there is an information or something we could do that could also improve our content, please help us do it.
The chairman and CEO TAF Media Group, Tony Afia, who also appreciated all the staff for their efforts from the beginning in 2013 till date, charged the staff members to continue giving more efforts for productivity in the coming year.
Let me first start by thanking all the staff. Wherever we found ourselves right now, we have done something to be here, to be at this level. We started with the Planet building exactly June 9, 2013. After Planet, we now got the Spectrum TV. We got this license around 2015, and then the almighty Thanks You came in.
The high points of the event were the rendition of Christmas songs to usher in the festivities and exchange of gifts by staff members in the spirit of the season. Edidion Martin, reporting for Spectrum Television.
Still to come in the news. Federal government targets $12 trillion GDP by 2050. Do stay with us.
Season's greetings from Spectrum TV.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Staying tuned. Moving on now to Africa, where South Africa's graft-tainted former president Jacob Zuma has announced that he is suing President Cyril Ramaphosa over a leaked medical report linked to a 1990s arms corruption trial. The announcement made overnight comes as the ruling African National Congress kicks off a conference that is expected to re-elect its party leader Ramaphosa, who is facing a huge cash scandal himself. Recall that Zuma announced that he had launched private prosecution proceedings against Ramaphosa, accusing him of being an alleged accessory in the leaking of a confidential medical document about Zuma to the media. 6 countries of the Economic Community of Central Africa, Cameroon, Congo into circulation new banknotes from December 15. On posters and banners announcing the new banknotes, the BEAG emphasizes that the new notes are more compact, more modern, and better secure, stressing that for the production of the bills, BEAG has used technology that puts it one step ahead of counterfeiters. According to the Bank of Central African States, the new bills were put into circulation in December in accordance with the decision taken on November 7 in Douala by the Ministerial Committee of the Central African Monetary Union, UMAC. Recall that the BEAG had stressed in a press release last November that despite the introduction of new banknotes of the 2020 range, the 2002 range of banknotes continues to be enforced in the Economic Community of Central Africa, as its neighbor Burkina Faso has reached an arrangement with the Russian paramilitary group Wagner. According to the Ghanaian head of state, who said this during a meeting in the United States with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Russian mercenaries are at the northern border of Ghana, which is particularly worrying. However, spokesman for the Burkinabe government, Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo, has said they will not react to the accusation. According to reports, Moscow is conducting an active influence campaign, particularly on social networks, and enjoys growing popular support when France, the former colonial power, is increasingly vilified in several French-speaking African countries. Recall that on Monday, Burkina Faso's Prime Minister Apollinaire Kyalem de Tembele met in Moscow with Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov to discuss priority issues of strengthening relations between the two countries, according to a Russian Foreign Ministry statement that is. On development from the words Ukraine so far, Ignat, who also gave a detailed description of the weapon we used in the attack, said missiles were launched from the Black Sea as MiG-31K aircraft were spotted in the skies. He also noted that for the first time, the occupiers used Tu-95 strategic bombers from the area where those aircraft are located. In addition, there were launches from the north of the Caspian Sea. Missile attacks have been reported across Ukraine, including in Kiev, Odessa, Kharkiv, and Zaporizhia. Recall that since October, Russia has waged a series of strikes against Ukraine that have damaged the energy system and civilian infrastructure, causing power outages in the freezing winter. Still on the foreign scene, Peru's Supreme Court has ordered ousted former President Pedro Castillo to remain in pre-trial detention for 18 months. Castillo, a former teacher and union leader from rural Peru, was impeached and removed from office last week after he attempted to dissolve Congress and install an emergency government, a tactic that lawmakers slammed as an attempted coup. He has since been accused of rebellion and conspiracy, which he denies. Supreme Court Judge Juan Carlos said the lengthy detention reflects the complexity of the case and possible flight risk after prosecutors warned that the ex-president might seek asylum outside the country, stressing that 18 months would cover the duration of their investigation. Elsewhere, European Union says its latest round of sanctions will hit Russia's military-industrial complex. Valdis Dombrovskis said the package will deal a blow to 168 entities, companies or state organizations, as well as 24 individuals. The 9th package of EU punitive measures against Russia for its war in Ukraine was approved by EU leaders at a summit and formally adopted by written procedure. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the package also focuses on tech, finance, and media to push the Russian economy and war machine further off the rails. Meanwhile, Ukraine says the metro system in the capital will remain out of service for the rest of the week after Russian strikes targeted electricity infrastructure. In a statement online, Kiev city officials announced that due to damage to the power system and emergency power outages, subway trains would not run until that time. They added that underground stations will operate in shelter mode at the same time. In the meantime, Ukraine's defense chiefs have warned that Russia is expected to launch a new offensive early next year that could include a second attempt to take the capital Kiev. This new offensive could happen as soon as January. The officials said the push could be launched from the eastern Donbas area, the south or neighboring Belarus, and could include another ground assault on Kiev, which Moscow failed to capture early in the invasion. In a related development, Russia has launched at least 76 missiles at Ukrainian energy facilities and other infrastructure in its latest wave of deadly attacks that have caused widespread power outages across the country. The bombardment within the week hit at least 4 cities, killing at least 2 people in the central city of Kryvyi. 1 person died in southern Kherson region, where an apartment block caught fire from shelling that preceded the missile strikes, according to regional authorities. The governor of the Kiev region, Alexei Kuleba, said Russia was massively attacking Ukraine in the latest coordinated wave of raids, which have shelled Ukrainian infrastructure since October. Still on the crisis in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin will visit Belarus on Monday for talks with his counterpart and ally, Alexander. National and regional agenda. The visit comes 10 months into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which was launched from several directions, including Belarusian territory. Minsk had announced the visit, and the presidential office said the leaders will hold one-on-one talks as well as wider negotiations with their ministers on Belarusian-Russian integration. Let's move on now to Iran, where dozens took to the streets within the week in the country's restive southeast as a wave of protests sparked by Mahsa Amini's death entered a 4th month. The Islamic Republic has seen waves of protests since the September 16 death in custody of Amini, a 22-year-old Iranian Kurd who had been arrested for allegedly violating the country's strict dress code for women. Hundreds of people have reportedly been killed and thousands arrested in the unrest, leading to international condemnation, sanctions, and Iran's removal from the UN women's rights body. Elsewhere, the United Nations peacekeeping force in South Lebanon has urged Beirut to ensure a speedy investigation into an Irish soldier's shooting dead near the Israeli border. The Irish military recalled that the peacekeepers' convoy had come under fire late Wednesday near the village of Al-Aqbiya, wounding 3 other members of the UN force, UNIFIL. Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati and Army Chief Joseph Aoun within the week visited the UNIFIL headquarters in the border town of Nakura, denouncing the attack that claimed Private Sean Rooney's life. UNIFIL spokesman Andre Tenenti called it a very serious incident and told reporters it was important for the Lebanese authorities to bring the perpetrators to justice. Away from that, Japan has said it would begin a $320 billion military buildup that would arm it with missiles capable of striking China and ready it for a sustained conflict as regional tensions and Russia's Ukraine invasion stoke war fears. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's government reportedly worries that Russia has set a precedent that will encourage China to attack Taiwan. This threatens nearby Japanese islands, disrupts supplies of advanced semiconductors, and puts a potential stranglehold on sea lanes that supply Middle East oil. Japan's post-World War II constitution does not officially recognize the military and limits it to nominally self-defensive capabilities. In another development, Serbian government has asked the NATO peacekeeper commander to allow the country to send up to 1,000 police and army personnel to Kosovo. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić confirmed this to newsmen. It is reportedly the first time Belgrade has requested to deploy troops in Kosovo since the United Nations Security Council resolution ended the 1998 to 1999 war, during which NATO bombed rump Yugoslavia, comprising Serbia and Montenegro, to protect Albanian majority Kosovo. Vučić said the government had emailed the request and will physically hand it to the NATO mission in Kosovo. At a border crossing within the week, the request comes during a spate of clashes between Kosovo authorities and Serbs in the northern region, where they constitute a majority. On our business news, the federal government is targeting to grow Nigeria's real gross domestic product to $12 trillion by 2050. Between now and 2050, the government has plans to grow per capita income to $33,000 per annum. Per capita income is a measure of the amount of money earned per person in a nation and used to determine the average per person income for an area, as well as evaluate the standard of living and quality of life of the population. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed made these known in Abuja at the launch of the National Plan and Financing Safe Schools. Still in business, the World Bank has said that Nigeria is in a worsening situation, with economic performance becoming weaker as inflation persists. The Washington-based bank said this in its newly released Nigeria Development Update (NDU) report launched in Abuja alongside the Nigeria Country Economic Memorandum. The performance has weakened since the previous Nigeria Development Update was published in June 2022. The financial institution, which forecast growth to slow by 2.9% in 2023, also cut Nigeria's 2022 growth forecast to 3.1% from a previous forecast of 3.8%, noting that the revision was due to slow economic growth in the third quarter of the economy. Meanwhile, the inflation in Nigeria accelerated for the 10th straight month to 21.47% in November. The figure means that in the month of November 2022, the general price level was a 6.07% higher inflation figure in November 2021. On a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate in November 2022 was 1.39%. This was a 0.15% higher. This in its latest Consumer Price Index report published on its website. The NBS attributed the rise in prices to food supply disruptions, import cost hikes due to currency depreciation, and a rise in production costs. In health, the federal government has ranked Nasarawa State as the best performing state in the COVID-19 mass vaccination campaign. The National Primary Health Care Development Board made this known at the COVID-19 performance review meeting held in Abuja. The National Primary Health Care Development Agency, NPHCDA, also said Nasarawa State has constructed 19 new facilities and renovated 90 health facilities. Meanwhile, the progress report of vaccination in the country shows that as of November, the top 5 performing states in COVID-19 vaccination are Nasarawa, Jigawa, Osun, Kaduna, and Kano. The NPHCDA said Nasarawa State represents all that is needed in terms of efforts to build resilient primary health care, the effort that traverses programmatic, infrastructural, workforce, and fiscal initiatives. Still in health, United Kingdom nurses (RCN) staged an unprecedented one-day strike as a last resort in their fight for better wages and working conditions, despite warnings it could put patients at risk. Up to 100,000 members of the Royal College of Nursing in England, Wales and Northern Ireland protested after rejecting a government pay offer. The RCN's industrial action is part of a growing wave of stoppages by public and private sector employees. And while the United Kingdom government has admitted there were serious shortages of antibiotics to treat bacterial infections in children, despite more than a week of denials, it comes after at least 17 children died in the United Kingdom from severe cases of group streptococcus, a strep infection, and shortages of other types of antibiotics in Europe and North America. Still to come in the news. Croatia beat Morocco to finish third at World Cup. Do stay with us. Defeated Morocco 2-1 in the World Cup third place playoff on Saturday, with Mislav Orsic curling home the winner. Josko Vardiol, one of the stars of the tournament in Qatar, headed Croatia into the lead in the 7th minute at the Khalifa International Stadium, but Achraf Dari brought Morocco level right away. Orsic's terrific curling strike late in the first half ensured Croatia took home the bronze medal. The 11th World Cup in a row a European team has finished third. Walid Regragui, the Morocco coach, said there was a lot for his team to proudly reflect on after they became the first African semi-finalists in World Cup history. So in sports, Algeria has submitted a bid to host the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Its Football Federation spokesman Salah Aboud made this known after Guinea was stripped of the tournament as its infrastructure is not ready. The Cairo-based Confederation of African Football has also received bids by Algeria's neighbor and arch-rival Morocco, as well as a joint bid by Nigeria and Benin. So in sports, FIFA chief Gianni Infantino has announced plans for a 32-team Club World Cup from 2025, despite reported opposition from Europe's biggest clubs. An expansion of the competition has long been a pet project of Infantino's. A 24-team event featuring 8 sides from Europe was planned for 2021 in China, but was put on hold due to the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, Infantino said the new look tournament would be even bigger than first planned. Elsewhere, the incumbent president of the Nigeria Olympic Committee, Habu Gomel, has been elected for another term in office, defeating close challenger and former Minister of Sports Sani Ndanusa by 21 to 19 votes at the elective Congress of the NOC, which held in Jalingo, Taraba State. With 21 out of the 40 votes, Gomel secured an absolute majority of 50% plus 1 as the keenly contested election into the president's seat climaxed the Congress of the body, just as 8 other positions were also contested. Gomel's victory at the polls secured a 3rd consecutive term and a 5th term overall for the Jigawa-born IOC member, whose last 8 years in office has attracted heavy criticisms. He was first elected as NOC president in 2002 and was in office until 2010. He returned again in 2014 and was in office till 2022 before winning another term at the election. And on our entertainment news, there were tears and wailing from family and friends when popular gospel singer and chief executive officer of Zamar Entertainment, Samuel Poso, was buried in Lagos. Recall that the singer died on November 25 at the age of 51. Reports say a night of tributes had earlier been held for the singer at La Madison Place on Nehru, Lagos on Tuesday with fellow singers Tope Alabi and Timi Dakolo performing. And finally, on entertainment, the popular miniature tabletop war game Warhammer is to be made into a film and TV program. Henry Cavill will star in and executive produce the adaptation, which he called a nigh-on lifelong dream come true. UK firm Games Workshop, which makes the game, said it had reached an agreement in principle for Amazon to develop its intellectual property. It confirmed that the project will initially involve developing the Warhammer 40,000 universe. The news comes just days after Cavill confirmed he will not be returning to play Superman in the DC Comics universe. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News. My name is Xavier Robert. Do enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.